Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing an Evil Eye deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck is super fun. I'm really excited to show you guys this deck because you guys have been requesting this one like crazy on the channel. Basically this deck is a Protect the King style deck that can control the opponent's board with all sorts of different traps and spells, that has floodgates and stuff like that, and also has the ability to make really big monsters with Surziel and the Gorgon. And it's a Protect the King style deck with either Surziel or Protect the Queen style deck if you want to summon Empress out on the field and you really quickly want to summon her as quickly as possible. So, without further ado guys, let's get straight into this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad. Definitely check out the Ko-Fi and the Patreon in the description below, and let's get straight on into this. So, first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Surziel, Watcher of the Evil Eye. So basically this card is the main starter of the deck. He is such a good card that when he's normal summoned, you get to add an Evil Eye card from your deck to your hand, and then he also has the ability that if this card is equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, quick effect, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and you only use the effect of Surziel, Watcher of the Evil Eye once per turn. And once per turn during the next standby phase, after this effect was activated, destroy one card you control. We play 2 copies of Medusa, Watcher of the Evil Eye. I bumped her up from 1 to 2 because I feel like she's better at 2 in this deck, because when she's normal summoned, you get to target an Evil Eye card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. And if this card is equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, you can target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it, or one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And you only use your effect once per turn, and then once per turn during either player's standby phase, after this card was activated, or during your next standby phase, you can banish a card from your graveyard, or banish one card in your graveyard. I play a single copy of Basilisk, Familiar of Evil Eye. The Basilisk really helps out because if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can special summon it from your hand. And then it also has the ability that during your main phase, you can send an Evil Eye spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, which can come in really handy to be able to send particular Evil Eye spells and traps to the graveyard. And I only play a single copy of Catabalese, Familiar of the Evil Eye. I play basically 3, 2, 1, and 1 of all of the Evil Eye monsters. Catabalese is probably the worst of them all. He lets you target an Evil Eye spell or trap you control, and then until the end phase of the next turn, this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And if you do an Evil Eye monster other than this card, while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. The reason I play this card is because you can special summon it and then go into Gorgon, and you really need 2 Evil Eye monsters to go into Gorgon, and you can use your opponent's monsters to go into this card with different cards in the deck, like Crackdown and stuff like that. So this card comes in really handy that you want to play the 7 so you can really easily draw into one with all the draw power you have in this deck, and then be able to link them away to go into a different, like into Gorgon and stuff like that. So that's it for the monsters. I don't play any hand traps in this deck. You don't need them with all the floodgates that you're playing. Trust me, you won't need them. So then we play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. The Super Polys come in really handy to break your opponent's board, because you can go into stuff like Starving Venom Fusion Dragon and Mud Dragon of the Swamp. You have plenty of cards in the extra deck that you can go into with this card and be able to break your opponent's board. All extra deck monsters just about nowadays running around are dark monsters, and so this card comes in really handy. You can always side cards it if you're going into a local tournament or even a regionals. Whatever you think is actually going to top, you can side it in and be able to go into those different plays. Like if you're playing against heroes, you can side in Adoration or Trinity and be able to go through a hero board. If you think you're going to play against Salamangrates, play Violet Chimera. Like, you have such a broad way to play the extra deck that you really want to play this card at 3. 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave comes in super handy with negating our opponent's hand traps because you just don't want to deal with them. 3 copies of Instant Fusion. It's kind of like you're playing 10 monsters in the deck instead of 7. So you Instant Fusion this card. You use Instant Fusion to basically go into your Millennium Eyes, Thousand Eyes to protect yourself from hand traps, or gobble up your opponent's monsters to get you something on board to be able to go from there. 1 copy of Terraforming to add the Evil Eye field spell to from our deck to our hand, which comes in really handy. We play 3 copies of Pot of Duality. The Pot of Duality comes in super handy because you're usually on your first turn, you're not going to special summon, and this deck can go through an entire turn without special summoning. It's not that hard. All you have to do is normally just normal summon the Surziel and then pass pretty much by setting like 5 in this deck. So this card comes in really clutch. 1 copy of Evil Eye Confrontation, or Confrontation comes in super handy because what this card does is if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. And if you do, and you have Evil Eye of Selene in your spell and trap card zone, you can banish that card instead, which comes in super handy. A single copy of Repose. Repose is pretty good because it has the ability that when you activate this card, you can banish an Evil Eye from your graveyard to draw a card, and then once per turn during damage calculation, if an Evil Eye monster equipped with Evil Eye of Selene attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster, and if this card in your spell and trap card zone is destroyed, you can target up to 3 of your banished Evil Eye cards and return them to the graveyard, which comes in handy to be able to do that, to be able to get them back. We also play 2 copies of Evil Eye Awakening. Evil Eye Awakening lets you special summon an Evil Eye monster from your hand or graveyard, or if you have Evil Eye of Selene in your spell and trap card zone, you can special summon an Evil Eye monster from your deck. This card helps us go for our Link 3 if you ever want to go for the Link 3. I usually don't, but it's an option. We play just 2 copies of Evil Eye Selene because we also play 2 copies of Evil Eye of Gorgonio. But you equip this card to an Evil Eye monster, and it cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects, and also your opponent cannot target it with card effects, so basically makes them untargetable and can't be destroyed by anything, which is really, really cool. And it also has the ability that each time you activate the equipped monster's effect, or you activate another Evil Eye spell or trap, that monster gains 500 attack, and if it does, you lose 500 attack, or 500 life points, and then this attack remains even if this card leaves the field. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can pay 1,000 life points, and then banish an Evil Eye spell or trap from your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and set this card back to your field. So once you get 1 copy of it, you're just going to recur it all the time. We play 2 copies of Evil Eye of Gorgonia. This card is a little bit different. It helps us OTK a little bit. You can equip it to any Evil Eye monster, and then it has the ability that you can only control 1 copy of it, or you can only activate 1 copy of it per turn, and this card's name becomes Evil Eye of Selene while in your spell and trap card zone, and then while your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster gains the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. You manage the card from your graveyard and discard an Evil Eye card, add an Evil Eye spell or trap from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself. So you're going to be paying a lot of life points with a Selene. So this card kind of like subsidizes for that, where you can actually equip this to it as well and gain that life or gain that attack point. So as your life points get lower, its attack points get higher, and it puts a big gap in between you and your opponent. Then we play 3 copies of Evil Eye Domain Pareidolia. This card is basically like playing 3 extra monsters in the deck, because it has the ability that when it's activated, you get to add any Evil Eye card from your deck to your hand, and then once per turn during damage calculation, if an Evil Eye monster attacked while Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap card zone, you can make the battle damage your opponent takes from this in battle inflicted to your opponent. And if this card in the field spell zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can target an Evil Eye card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. This card's really, really good as well, because you usually want to pop, like you're going to pop something with Surzeal, so you pop this because it just adds the card, and then the other effects are kind of eh. So you just want to play that. So that's it for all the spells. Let's get into the traps, which we actually play quite a few traps in this deck. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Evil Eye Defeat. Evil Eye Defeat basically lets us, if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can target a monster on the field, or 2 if you control Evil Eye of Selene, and then return them to the hand. So this card's like Compulse, but for 2. 2 copy of Evil Eye Retribution. Retribution is really good because this card's like Infernity Barrier, that when in Spell Trap is activated while you control an Evil Eye monster, and negate the activation if you destroy it. And if Evil Eye of Selene is in your Spell and Trap card zone, this card cannot be negated, so it becomes a speed spell 4 that you cannot negate this card. Like, it's really, really good. They can't even judgment it or anything. We play 3 copies of There Can Only Be One. You can flip this card against certain decks, and it just ends the game. Like, they cannot do anything, because each player can only control 1 monster of each type. We only usually have either Gorgon on the field or Surzeal on the field. Like, so I'm not that worried about having like more than one of them on the field, because as long as I can get Selene on one of them, it's okay. And I have a bunch of back row, so I'm not that worried about it. And then we play 3 copies of Crackdown. Crackdown is so good in this deck, because Crackdown, what it does is that when you activate it, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and take control of it, and then while you control that monster, it can't attack or activate its effects. That's not that big of a deal. Basically, you set this, activate it, take their monster, and then on your turn, you link into the Gorgon, and then this card goes to graveyard. Like, it's not even that big of a deal. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. Now, I don't play the Solemn Brigade. I see some people play the Solemn Brigade, but you end up paying yourself into the grave with that. and I don't need that in this deck. You just don't need it. We play 3 copies of the Gorgon, the Empress of the Evil Eye. This card is so good. This card is so good. You're only probably going to make it maybe once or twice in a game, but I played at 3 because you really want to make it. It gains 100 attack for each Evil Eye card with a different name in the graveyard, and if this card is equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, you can quick effect target a card your opponent target effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end phase of the turn. You only use your effect once per turn, and then once per turn during the standby phase of the turn this card activated, you destroy 1 card this card points to. We only play a single copy of the Ruler of the Evil Eye. You really only need 1. You're only maybe ever going to go in this card to flex on your opponent. I don't make this card, like, I really rarely ever make this card. If this card is link summoned using a monster with 2600 or higher attack as a material, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if this card is equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn, and then it also has the ability that once per turn during the next standby phase after this card was activated, negate the effects of 1 effect monster this card currently points to, which is pretty good. Boral Sword just to help us OTK a little bit. I do summon this kinda often. It comes up. Boral Load, again, to take monsters. It comes up sometimes. Unicorn to take to bounce monsters. Phoenix to pop spells and traps, and Cerberus to pop monsters. We play a single copy of Gravity Controller. Gravity Controller comes in really handy because basically what you want to do with this is go into it with your Thousand Eyes or Millennium Eyes. We play a single copy of Link Rebo just to be able to also go into with our Thousand Eyes, Millennium Eyes. I give Starving Eyes to some things when I'm really hungry, but Starving Mid and Fusion Dragon, basically you can go into this card with your Super Polys and be able to OTK your opponent a little bit easier. And it's not a fiend, so you still always live under there can only be 1. Mud Dragon comes in handy as well because if your opponent controls 2 monsters with the same attributes, but different types, you can go into Mud Dragon really easily. 1 copy of Thousand Eyes for another instant fusion target, and Millennium Eyes to gobble up monsters. Like, both of these come in handy, and they go with the Eyes archetype. So that's it for the deck. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a really neat deck. I really hope that they reprint Surzeal soon, because the deck is ridiculously budget besides Surzeal. Like, Surzeal is like easily, I think, a $15 to $20 card for some reason. I know it was short print in the set, but I feel like this card needs a reprint, and if they do get this card a reprint, then the deck's going to be budget. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely check out the Patreon in the comments down, or in the description down below. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.